We were recently asked the best way to find out exactly how a stitch is to be worked, and the example was somebody who had found a cable stitch that, judging by the symbol and the abbreviation, they thought was probably what they were looking for, but they wanted to know the full instructions to be sure that they were choosing the right stitch. And obviously in the palette you only get the abbreviation and the symbol, and the same in the output text. But what you can do is open the stitch library and get the full description. So either coming to Tools if you're on a Windows machine, or the Stitch Mastery menu at the top left if you're on a Mac, open Preferences. You may need to click the drop down menu to access the stitch libraries, and then open the default in whichever version you're using, and we'll click to view. And what we can do is filter by drawer to quickly find the cables, and here we have some of the 3 stitch cables. Now as you can see, we have the long description written here. You can drag this to extend in both directions if it's a very long instruction. When you hover over it, you also get the instruction showing up, so you can read it there. If it's a very long description, or you find it difficult to read in this area, you can come to view for the particular stitch. So I've selected the stitch and come to view, and in the long description box you can actually copy and paste that into another program to view it in a slightly easier to read format. So that will let you see exactly how we are suggesting that the stitches worked. Now of course there's no one rule fits all standard instruction for any given stitch, so if you find that you would prefer to word things slightly differently, you can set up your own user stitch library and come and tweak this in your stitch. If you can't find the precise stitch that you want, then of course you can create a new stitch and customize that to suit. And I'll pop some links in the description below on how to do those things. Another option for finding out how a stitch should be worked in full is to export the stitch glossary for your chart when you export your written instructions. So if we come to Diagram, Export to Text, then we can click the Include Stitch Glossary in Written Instructions, and I'll quickly do that. Coming to the output text, we have the stitch glossary. So again, with the cables that were already in the chart, you get the full description here. And of course, if it's a stitch that you don't use regularly and you only want to change it for this particular pattern, you can always just edit this in your text output rather than changing the stitch itself.